Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Thursday. We have sufficiently thawed to bring you 3 hours of sports talk from the capital city on the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. And we are streaming live on video on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on our Facebook page, WIBW News. Greetings and salutations. I'm Dan Lucero. Brendan Wrzinski is here. Spencer Dupuis will be along in a bit. We'll have a rotating cast of characters today as Brendan will dip out early for some Washburn basketball tonight at Lee Arena, and Spencer will be along in a little bit. So we have got the three of us are going to combine to bring you some sports talk this afternoon. We're sure glad that you are along with us today. Plenty to get to. Today is the first day that there are spring training games. You know there's a baseball game on right this second, right now.
Yes,
you ought to know.
History today. The Cubs are involved.
Yeah, you ought to know. Why did it make history?
Thank you, Alanis. Because it featured the first major league automated ball strike challenge call.
That's right.
Cody Poteet, who got the start today for the Cubs. The Cubs are starting this guy like, yeah, maybe he's good enough to make the roster. Maybe he's a swing guy, whatever. The Dodgers are starting Yamamoto, who they bring trading opener,
who they gave $325 million last year.
Hilarious. But no, they did the first ball strike challenge in the first inning of the game. It was called a ball. It was indeed a strike.
Oh, well, so they retained their challenge.
And the umpire lost a finger. They chopped it right off on TV.
Wow. That would certainly add an element of intrigue to the...
Better get it right.
To the ABS. State our country's need for violence on televised violence. Yeah, wow. Okay. Yeah, there's baseball on right now. And tomorrow there will be Royals baseball. The Royals and the Rangers will both make their spring training debuts tomorrow. So this is spring training opener eve, if you will.
Is the Rangers the franchise that the Royals share with?
Yes.
The stadium?
Yeah, they're both a surprise. Yeah, that's correct. So
how many have you been to? Because you've been to spring training at least a couple times, right?
I've been a couple times.
I've only been once. I went to the Reds Park. In Arizona.
Goodyear, yeah.
Yeah.
They share with the Guardians. I've been to that one. I've been to Peoria, where the Padres and Mariners share. Mm-hmm. I've been to Surprise. Mm-hmm. I've been to trying to think. I've been to Tucson, where the Rockies used to train. Nobody trains in Tucson anymore. Weird. Well, yeah, the White Sox and the Rockies used to train down in Tucson, but Tucson and Phoenix are they're not real close. So
no,
they're far.
They're not.
Yeah, they're definitely far enough away that guys were like, yeah, I'm not getting on a bus to go play in a spring training game. So, it got to be inconvenient for all sides of the equation. So then the White Sox share with the Dodgers now. And the Rockies and the Diamondbacks share a facility in Scottsdale. But the last time I went was 2010. The Rockies were still in Tucson. I think it was their last year in Tucson, actually. But I'd been down to Tucson. I'm trying to think which other ones I've been to. Diablo Stadium in Tempe, where Arizona trains. Mm-hmm. Phoenix Muni, where the A's used to train. I don't think they train there anymore. But, I've been to a handful of them. But it's been a long time. It hasn't been since 2010, last time I made a spring training trip. I need to change that. I need to get out. Maybe when my son's a little older. We'll do a guy's trip to spring training some year.
Yeah, that sounds like a blast. I went when February of 2020, so right before life as we knew it came to an end. It was my buddy's bachelor party weekend. Yeah. We went down to Phoenix and had a night to remember or forget in Scottsdale. And but we wanted to go see spring training. He's a huge baseball guy, and we got rained out on Saturday. We didn't get to go because it was raining in Arizona. Well, what are the odds?
Yeah, go
figure.
And
the next day, we're like, well, shoot, the White Sox are back in action. We got to drive 45 minutes, but we can go. The game will end exactly an hour and a half before we all have to be at the airport. Let's make it happen. So we did. It was great. Had an awesome time.
If you even like baseball, the tiniest bit, you should do a spring training trip. You should go and you should see your favorite team. And then you should go to games that are not between two teams that you particularly care about and just sit in the sun and enjoy the fact that it's March and it's like 75 degrees in Greater Phoenix.
And enjoy getting to say, oh, yeah, that guy just had a 30 home run season. I saw him when he was playing in the Cactus League during spring training one year.
I remember when he was a pinch runner for a more popular player who then got to ride on a golf cart out of the stadium.
By the way, real spring training is the Cactus League. Grapefruit League, fake spring training.
Yeah, get the Grapefruit League out of my face.
Trash.
Cactus League only around here.
Big facts.
I've never done the Grapefruit League circuit. I've been to the ballpark in Clearwater. Saw a minor league game there, but
I'd rather eat a grapefruit than a cactus, though.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Both of them will sting you a little bit, just in different ways.
Slightly different.
Yeah. No, seriously, anybody who has never made a pilgrimage, you should do it. The best time to do it, honestly, is if you do it as like a guy's trip or a buddy's trip. Do it like while the NCAA tournament is going on. So you go to a game in the afternoon, then at night, like you go watch the games. You go find a spot and post up, and you watch the games. That's where I watched that Xavier K-State game in 2010. The double overtime, Jacob Pullen. He's in shape. That game, I watched that game with my buddies. We were at a bar in Scottsdale. The special that night was John Daly's.
Oh,
you're familiar with John Daly's, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're not, but
I know what they are.
Yes, for the uninitiated, if Arnold Palmer is iced tea and lemonade, John Daly, you throw in a little booze, a little vodka. So John Daly's were on special, and we may have had a number of John Daly's while we were watching Jacob Pullen go nuts against Xavier in the Sweet 16. And high-fiving strangers. That was a good time. That was a lot of fun. I was much younger then. I'm older than that now. Anyway, we're going to talk Royals baseball today here on 580 Sports Talk. The 5th starter spot is up for grabs. Who should win it? Who's got the inside track? Who doesn't have the inside track? We'll talk all about it because the Royals added somebody who ostensibly could compete for the role to a minor league deal yesterday, which is interesting. So we'll discuss that a little bit. Also, the podcast Farm to Fountains put something fun on X earlier today. The all-time lineup. You've seen the meme. They're not memes, but you've seen them go up where you get like you have to draft a team, and some players are worth $5. You have the $5 tier, the $4 tier, and so on and so forth. So coming up at the 5 o'clock hour, we're gonna do the Royals dream lineup from the folks at Farm to Fountains. We'll put it up on the YouTube so you can play along. We'll post it to our socials as well. We'll retweet it from our X account, and we'll get it up on our socials so you can play along with us.
They made it tough.
They did. They really did. There are some difficult decisions here, and some guys that I hated to leave off my lineup, but also guys I was really happy were cheap, so I could get them for cheap.
Yeah, really heartbroken. Grudzy wasn't anywhere on here.
No Mark Grudzalonic.
No Mark Grudzalonic.
No Mark. No Aaron Guile, unfortunately. But no, we'll do that in the 5 o'clock hour. We'll talk plenty of Royals today. We're also going to talk about the Chiefs and the class of free agent left tackles. It's not super inspiring, if you can believe that. But we'll take a look at who is out there at left tackle for the Chiefs to potentially add via free agency, if that is the route the Chiefs prefer to use to try and address what has been an ongoing weakness the last couple of seasons. So we'll get into that as well. Two great guests on the program today. Coming up at the bottom of this hour, Rick Peterson of TopSports.news will join us for the local sports spotlight. We'll talk about high school athletics, already getting to state tournament time or state meet time for the winter season, state swimming beginning today. So we'll talk a little bit about the city contention in state swimming, start looking ahead towards postseason in other sports, of course. After next week, the end of the basketball regular season. It'll be basketball postseason coming up. So we'll talk about those things with Pistol. He'll join us bottom of this hour. Bottom of the 4 o'clock hour, CJ Moore from The Athletic will join us for the Big 12 basketball breakdown. We'll ask CJ what's wrong with Kansas and can it be fixed. We'll also get his thoughts about the rest of the Big 12 and some other things from college basketball as well. That's coming up at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. Also, in the 5 o'clock hour, we're going to get to this bonkers story that ESPN just published today about the Bird Lady. Apparently, the Chiefs are not the only team with a super fan running afoul of the law. The Bird Lady was stealing from people. She was stealing from Chiefs fans. How dare she?
And Seahawks fans.
And
this is an attack on you personally.
Yes, this hurts all of us. this wounds all of us deeply. You will not believe the details in the saga of the Bird Lady. We're going to have to get to it in the 5 o'clock hour. Also, your sports headlines. What is wrong with you?
Bird Lady. They're great. Whenever you can headline, it's like a "what is wrong with you" story. Like,
it really
when you just have a great headline or a great subhead, it can make the story, really.
Yes, it really
the
truly
Bird
can.
Lady.
The Bird Lady. We got what is wrong with you coming up in 4 o'clock hour, either or over under as well. Plus your interactions with the show today. Want to hear from you via the text line. The number is 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. You can also get at us in the live chat on YouTube. If you're watching the stream on YouTube, the channel is 580 Sports Talk. Jump on into the stream today and interact with us and your fellow listeners. Good afternoon to Vance and Barbara and everybody else who is watching or who will watch, and jump into the YouTube chat today as we go along. You can also leave us a comment if you're watching on our Facebook, WIBW News. Anyhow, Royals signed Ross Stripling to a minor league deal yesterday, and this is not particularly a needle-moving maneuver. Stripling pitched in 22 games last year for Oakland. It was really bad. Had an ERA over 6. Last 2 years, his ERA has been over 5.5. He's probably cooked. But 2022, 134 innings, ERA right at 3.01, and a 10-4 record in a swingman role with Toronto. So the Royals will try and see if there's any more juice left to squeeze out of the arm of the former All-Star Ross Stripling. Did you know that off the top of your head, that Ross Stripling had been an All-Star?
I do sort of remember him once being considered like, hey, Ross Stripling, good player. And after that All-Star appearance, it's been up and down.
He was an All-Star in 2018 with the Dodgers. I know you're stunned to hear that the Dodgers would turn somebody who's kind of a middling prospect into an All-Star. Here's a fun question for you. How many former All-Stars are on the current Royals 40-man roster? I want to see if you can name them all.
How many former All-Stars are on the 40-man?
How many former All-Stars are on the 40-man?
Can I look at the 40-man?
No. It's more fun if you don't.
Okay, so we're including, like, Witt.
Yes, Bobby Witt Jr., correct.
Bobby Witt Jr., Cole Reagans
last year.
Lugo.
Seth Lugo made it last year.
The guys who made it last year, obviously. Salvi, yeah. Okay. Ross Stripling.
Ross Stripling is not technically on the 40-man, but he's in camp, so we'll give him half credit.
Yeah, fair enough. Kevin Biggio didn't make it once, did he?
No, he did not.
No, I didn't think so. Man, I'm trying to think who else possibly would fall. Michael Wacha.
Yeah, I believe.
I think he made it once.
Michael Wacha is a one-time All-Star.
Okay, that's what I thought. With St. Louis?
2015 with St. Louis.
Yep, okay. Thought he made it one time. Beyond that, ooh, man.
There are 2 more.
2 more position players?
No.
Both pitchers?
Both pitchers.
Oh, Lordy. Man, that's going to be tough. I'm not sure. I'm trying not to look at any notes here to give myself a hint. I don't know that I could name 2 other pitchers who are. Is Will Smith still on the 40-man?
Will Smith is not still on the 40-man.
Thank God.
Right?
Thank the Lord. I don't know if I can name him.
Carlos Estevez was an All-Star.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Carlos Estevez was signed a couple weeks ago by the Royals. He was an All-Star in 2023 with the Angels. Michael Lorenzen was an All-Star.
Yes, he was. Okay.
Michael Lorenzen was the token Tiger All-Star in 2023.
I can live with not getting Estevez. I'm a little frustrated I did not get Michael Lorenzen.
Anyway.
Dang it. I should have known. Because I remember them talking all about how he played. He was never a two-way player, but there was so much talk early in his career about, hey, he can kind of hit at a respectable level for a pitcher. And then I remember he was an All-Star, and that was talked about a whole bunch 2 summers ago. Okay, I'm a little mad I didn't get that one.
Yeah. 7 former All-Stars on the 40-man roster for the Royals, and now 8 in camp if you include Ross Stripling. You can never have too many capable starting pitchers in your organization. Remember the Royals had Zach Davies in their organization last year for like a month? 5 starts.
I remember getting upset because he's a dirtbag.
Yeah, bad guy. Certified like terrible husband and father, Zach Davies.
But yeah, no, until you had mentioned that to me earlier, I had forgot. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I guess Zach Davies was around.
Like, and maybe that's what Ross Stripling is, like AAA depth for the first month of the season, just to, see, again, if there's anything left in the arm. If there is, great. Maybe he can help in a pinch. If not, it doesn't hurt anybody but the Omaha Storm Chasers. Maybe he's giving out souvenirs to the good people at Warner Park. But you cannot count, if you're the Royals, and I've said this repeatedly as we look towards this 2025 season, you can't count on the same 5 to 6 guys making 157 of 162 starts.
No.
That was a freak deal last year in a good way for the Royals, that they were that healthy, that their starting rotation was able to make it from April through September without any significant injuries. Michael Wacha had a tweak. Michael Lorenzen did, but like no significant injuries. And your top 6 guys from last year, Reagans, Lugo, Wacha, Singer, Marsh, Lorenzen, started all but 5 games last season. Dollars to donuts, that doesn't happen again. So
no, this ain't 1961 anymore.
No. So you need to have depth. And I actually think the Royals did a pretty good job accumulating some of that depth. I think the Kyle Wright addition before last year was a real forward-thinking move. And obviously wasn't about last year. He's recovering from elbow surgery. That's kind of about this year and what he can maybe give you. Stripling's another addition that is along those lines. There are, to my mind, 5 guys who got a real shot at being the 5th starter for the Royals this year, assuming that our first 4 are going to be Reagans, Lugo, Wacha, Lorenzen, which I think is a fair assumption at this point. Your 5 candidates, and I keep him in the conversation fine. Alec Marsh, Chris Bubich, Daniel Lynch, and Kyle Wright. And the caveat here is Alec Marsh is dealing with a bit of shoulder tenderness and is still building his arm strength. They're not concerned. He just dealt with something in the offseason. He's recovering from it. He's on track. He's just a little behind everyone else. And there's a decent chance that he could start on the injured list while he builds up arm strength, and that may keep him from initially winning the job. But consider Marsh a candidate for these purposes. Who do you like best? Who do you think the best fit is for that 5 spot in the Royals rotation?
I actually would be interested in giving Stripling a shot here. I know that he is only on a minor league deal, but I'm at least intrigued by this because Stripling, over the last couple of years, like I mentioned, he's been up and down for sure. But like last year with Oakland, a really, really bad Oakland team, he had an ERA right at 6.01, but his fielding independent number was actually sub 4. He did not get a lot of help from, well, a lot of different reasons, but his defense included. Now, the year before, 23 with the Giants, he stunk. He was not good. The year before that, though, 2022, he was like bona fide really good. He made 24 starts and 32 appearances. ERA was at 3.01. Fielding independent was almost dead on at 3.11. His whip was barely over 1 flat. I mean, that's not that long ago. He was legitimately really good. That's a good season for pretty much anybody. I still think there is something there, even though he's getting up there in age. This will be his age 35 season. If he's healthy and able to go, I know he's new to this. I know he's only on a minor league deal, but I would not be opposed to him getting a real shot to get that 5th starter job. Outside of him, though, I'm going with Alec Marsh. I think the biggest reason why, and I've gone back and forth on Chris Bubich because he was so good for a couple of starts before the injury in 23. Then last year, it took him forever. It took him a long time to get back from Tommy John. Obviously, no problems with that. And then there was that weird usage. Remember, how often did we talk middle-ish, just past the middle of the season about, hey, why is Matt Quattrero not going more often to Chris Bubich? Because he's probably one of your best bullpen arms. And by the end of the year, he was getting more regular work and continued to assert himself as one of the team's best bullpen arms. I'm not saying he can't at some point move back to a rotation, whether it's with the Royals or someone else. But we know that he's good in the bullpen. And you even said it not that long ago when we were talking Royals baseball. His stuff might just play better in more appearances, fewer games. If he's only going an inning, and great, he can give you 2 innings if needs be because he's a fairly recently converted starter. I would rather stick with both him and Lynch in the bullpen because I think some of Lynch's best stuff came out of the bullpen as well. I've been a believer in the stuff for Daniel Lynch for years. He's never been able to put it all together, but you got some good outings from him. And again, a guy who can give you more than just 3 outs out of the bullpen. I know the Royals and Quatrero really like to have guys that can give you a little bit more length. I would rather just stick with those guys being in a spot where we know it works. After this group, the 2018 draft pick guys, it's been so much, starting, bullpen, piggyback. Oh, and they got injured. Like, I'm cool just sticking with them. We know it works for Bubic in the bullpen. Let's stay with him in the bullpen. Stay with him as your eighth inning guy. And I know we don't really do that in baseball anymore, but if you had a bullpen that was starter can give you 6, and then you go whoever you want, Harvey or whoever else in the 7th, Bubic in the 8th, Urseg in the 9th. It's not exactly HDH, but it's pretty good. That's all of a sudden one of the better back ends of a bullpen you're going to find in baseball. And if that 7th inning guy is Daniel Lynch, great, awesome. So I think I'd stick with those guys in the places where we know they have found recent success consistently. I'd go back to Marsh because even though he doesn't have an especially high ceiling, he's good enough.
Yeah, I think the argument for Marsh and keeping Bubic in the bullpen is the argument for stability, right?
Yeah.
And knowing, kind of feeling comfortable with what you're going to get because it's what you saw last season. Because, I mean, Bubic wasn't just good out of the bullpen. He was flat out one of the best relievers in the American League over the last couple of months of the season. Struck out 11.5 guys per 9, kept the ball in the ballpark, except unfortunately against Giancarlo Stanton in the ALDS, but showed the ability to maybe work multiple innings. His stuff, like you alluded to, played up. He was really, really good out of the bullpen last year. And Alec Marsh made 25 starts, 26 appearances, and struck out close to a batter per inning and kept his walks down, which, you look at his rookie year, 2023, he walked nearly 5 guys per 9. He cut that to below 3 per 9 as a starter last year. So, a 26-year-old right-hander with a big alive arm trending in the right direction there. The argument to do the opposite and to take a stronger look at Bubic is maybe you feel like Bubic came back from Tommy John stronger and that he can apply some of the things that worked for him in the bullpen and some of the things that were starting to work for him. We got the slightest glimpse of an improved Chris Bubic in 16 innings in 2023 over those 3 starts where he struck out a batter per inning. He had cut his walks from 4.5 down to just 1 per 9. It was a small sample size, but I don't think it was meaningless. I think it was a pitcher who was really, and there was evidence of this at the time, had really made meaningful changes to his repertoire. I'm still a little fascinated by that idea of Bubic, we know he's a smart guy, he went to Stanford, applying some of the new data, analytical technology stuff that the Royals have been able to give to him and teach him and work with him on the last 2 years and see what that looks like in the rotation. Where Marsh, to me, is a guy who, like, his ceiling as a starter is he's a 5 and dive. Like, you don't want him to see a lineup the 3rd time through because even though he throws a bunch of pitches, he doesn't have like A+ pitch. And, that those guys usually tend to get exposed by the time they come a 3rd time through the order. Maybe that's a guy who would be more impressive in the bullpen. The other factor there is that you balance out your rotation, your bullpen a little bit. You keep Bubic in the bullpen, all of a sudden you're pretty lefty heavy back there with Zerpa and Long and potentially Lynch to go with Bubic, where with Marsh, you get another right-hander out there, and your rotation is already pretty right-handed. With Reagan's the only lefty in your first 4. Adding another left-hander is, I think, potentially desirable as well. So my lean is Bubic and give it another go. But if the consolation prize is Bubic goes back to the bullpen and can be something like what he looked like last year, that's okay. If that's the fallback plan for Chris Bubic, I like that. So my thought is, let's maybe see if what we were beginning to see, that little sliver of what we saw in 2023, let's see if that's real. And if it's not, our fallback plan we know is pretty damn good. We'll take a quick break, come back, have another Royals thought after this, and we got Rick Peterson coming up in just a bit for the local sports spotlight. CJ Moore, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. Jam-packed show today. We're glad you're with us on a Thursday on 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Brendan on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan, you had a follow-up on what we were discussing about the Royals' fifth starter role.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up something to kind of illustrate how much of an anomaly the Royals' health, frankly, and just consistency in their rotation was last year. So I've gone through every team in Major League Baseball. I have two more to run here really quickly, but I think I know the outcome. I went through every team in the majors last year, how many guys in total started for them, and how many guys made multiple starts. The vast majority of teams, every team had 10 plus guys who made multiple starts last year. The Royals had 9 total guys start, 7 through multiple starts. That's the second best mark, or well, depending on how you want to view it, it's either the second or third fewest total guys to throw starts or multiple starts in all of Major League Baseball. The Cubs had 8 guys who all pitched multiple times. That was really close. They didn't have anyone else beyond that. The Nationals had the same total, 9 total pitchers who started, 7 who threw multiple times, 6 of their guys threw 12 plus. Can you guess the team that had the fewest starting pitchers last year?
The fewest starting? I think it was the Mariners.
It was the Mariners. The Mariners only had 7 players start a game on the mound last season, which is nuts. And 6 of them threw 12 plus starts. One more guy threw 1. That's insane.
Yeah, it's extremely
Curry
rare.
And Gilbert being true, like old school workhorses certainly helps.
Yeah, they were awesome, and that team still missed the playoffs, which kind of blows the mind. But yeah, it
does also indicate you need to be able to hit the ball.
Yes, and it goes to show that all the guys we're talking about are probably going to start games for the Royals in 2025.
That's a good point.
Daniel Lynch is going to make some starts. Kyle Wright is probably going to make some starts. I wouldn't be surprised if Ross Stripling ends up making some starts if he does indeed stay with the organization through spring training. The Royals are going to need depth, and they're going to need whoever doesn't win that 5th starter role to be able to take the ball as the 6th guy or the 7th guy in this rotation, because you just can't count on the kind of health. No organization in baseball would count on the kind of health that the Royals got last year from their pitching staff. So I think it's going to be, I think that they're going to give Bubic and Lynch every chance to win the role. I think it's going to be one of them kind of by default, because Marsh might be a little behind everybody else in terms of his ramp up. But I do. I'm still tantalized by that 3 starts we saw of Bubic at the beginning of 2013. It was real different. It was real change. And I'm still kind of curious about that. Richard in the YouTube comments suggests bringing in Trevor Bauer. I will address this briefly. Trevor Bauer served a 194-game suspension without pay for a violation of Major League Baseball's joint domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse policy. The details are out there about not only that particular case, but other accusations against Trevor Bauer of abuse and assault. He has been a free agent for since the beginning of 2023, has loudly and repeatedly said that he will play for any major league team for the league minimum, and all 30 teams going on 3 years now have said, no thank you, you scumbag. So that is where we'll leave it on Trevor Bauer. Rick Peterson joins us next for 580 Sports Talk's Local Sports Spotlight coming up. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline by the great Rick Peterson of TopSports.news, who covers all things high school sports in Shawnee County and Washburn University athletics over at TopSports.news. You can check it out every day. There's always something that is worth a read over at TopSports.news, especially as we get down the stretch in the winter prep sports season. And Pistol, it is already the postseason. State swimming begins today. It is maybe not as deep a pool of local talent in the state meet this year as we've seen in years past, but still plenty of talent and a lot of opportunities for some young people to maybe bring home some medals. Who are the city's best shots at state medals in state swimming?
Well, it is. You're right. It's not as deep as it was last. Probably the best bet for a state championship this year would be Truman Brady of Shawnee Heights. He's the third seed, but most of the other guys would be dark horse candidates, including Jackson Cowden, the four-time city and three-time Centennial League diver. They're all just trying to sneak their way onto the medal stand, but it will be a lot deeper in the girls' season later this spring.
Which days are going to be or which events are going to be the ones to watch as far as the local athletes competing and the best chances again for those medals? You mentioned Jackson Cowden in the diving.
Yeah, and then there's several swimmers that are in two individual events apiece, but Washburn Rural's in all three relays, so they always got a chance there. But there really is no event that just sticks out. It's like, hey, that's going to be the one. So
that is coming up this weekend, the state wrestling championships. We also had regional girls wrestling last weekend. What popped out to you about the local performances in regional wrestling?
Well, it was good to see Cody Best back. She's been hurt. He came back and turned in a dominant performance. Washburn Rural had a really tough regional, but the two-time defending state champs, but they qualified, I believe 12. Shawnee Heights qualified a bunch, and they've been ranked number one in 5A for a good part of the year. So they got the numbers and to get to do some damage at state. Now they get a week off basically while the boys go to regionals this week, and then of course state will be next week.
Yes, the next week. You're right about that. Also noticed some good showings down at 5A. You mentioned Shawnee Heights. They were the runners up behind Baser Linwood in their regional. There's also good showing for Highland Park girls wrestling. Qualified 5 wrestlers for state out of that meet.
Yeah, no, that's great to see them. They're really growing as a girls program, and Freddie Maysberger and his people over there got some good numbers now. And yeah, it is good to see that. Rural's gonna have a tough time getting a third straight, but hey, they've done it in the past, so I never count out Damon Parker's program, and I think Chad Parks and Eric Singer's Shawnee Heights program has a great chance.
We're talking local sports with Rick Peterson on the Local Sports Spotlight here on 580 Sports Talk. Pistol joins us every Thursday at this time on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Let's pivot to some basketball. Saw a couple of good ones last night. There were actually basketball games last night. Shawnee Heights and Baser Linwood, and Shawnee Heights taking home a couple of really important United Kansas Conference wins. The boys trying to stay in touch and maybe snare a league title late on. The girls needed to bounce back after a tough loss in their previous game against DeSoto, and both teams pulled out tough wins.
Yeah, the Shawnee Heights girls had back-to-back tough losses against the number one team in the state in Seaman, and then DeSoto, both state ranked, and they did. They came back, and they had struggled in the first half in their previous two losses, and this time it was a reversal. They came out and took control, and then kind of had to fight off Baser Linwood late. The boys were pretty much in control the whole way. Coach Darting wasn't exactly pleased with the way they finished up, but they they never lost the lead, and they look good. They'll get a win. Both teams should get a win on tomorrow night, and that'll give them some good momentum going into next week, which is important.
Highland Park girls and boys will be featured tomorrow night on our 580 Preps Game of the Week. We will be at the Pressure Cooker. First time in a couple of years we've been to the Pressure Cooker. Of course, they had the flood in the gym last year that caused all their games to be moved, but we'll be taking in the action as Highland Park welcomes Sumner Academy in Meadowlark Conference action. Neither the boys or girls have lost in Meadowlark play this year, and it's all Meadowlark play from here forward for Highland Park's boys. How did they stay sharp? At 16-0, they got 4 games left. Atchison is one of them, and Atchison always tests them. But and Washington's not a bad team either. They're a top 10 team in Class 5A. So with those 2 games in front of them, I got to imagine it'll be maybe even a little easier in the run-in for Highland Park to stay sharp and to stay well tested going into the postseason.
Yeah, and if everything goes as planned, and I think it will now. They'll play Atchison on Saturday, so that's a very big game for them. So they'll go back to back, which is kind of like you do a lot of times at sub-state or state. So I think that will be good for them, as you said, to just stay sharp. I don't worry about them staying too sharp. Mike Williams and his staff will make sure they're on top of their game.
What other high school basketball games intrigue you on the Friday night docket? I know there were a lot of cancellations, postponements from Tuesday night. There was supposed to be a makeup tonight, Seaman and Piper. That got bumped again to next week. But the Friday night schedule, where will you be, and what will you be keeping an eye on the hardwood?
Yeah, I was going to say they all intrigue me, Dan, because we haven't had any. So, I mean, they're all – it's just having some basketball will be great. But I will be at Washburn Rural for a really, really good girls matchup between Washburn Rural and Hayden. And then I think the boys game can be tough too. Hayden's boys have really made some inroads this season, and coming off a big win at Manhattan earlier in the week. So, and the girls now, for the first time in a long time, at least in league play, have to come back off a loss. They were upset by Manhattan. So those games, both those games, really do intrigue me.
Washburn Rural and Hayden have played nail biters. Like their last 3 meetings, the 2 last year and the 1 earlier this year, have just been down to the wire games. I would expect Friday night's matchup to be no different. On the boys' side, Washburn Rural can wrap up solo first place in the Centennial League, I believe, with a win. But how much can Hayden push them? I have noticed that they've had a decent run of results this season. Just how improved is that Hayden team in their first year under a new head coach, Dwayne Anthony?
Yeah, very much so. They struggled last year, had a long losing streak, and then got caught fire at the end of the season and went to then the 3A state tournament. But they're ranked. They've been ranked a good part of the season this year. They've had some big wins. I think they were disappointed when they lost to Topeka High, but then they bounced right back. So. I think they can give Washburn Rural a good battle, but Washburn Rural's just playing very, very well. I mean, they just really jumped on Emporia the other night and took control of that from the get-go. Had, I think, 11 3-pointers in the first half, and you do that, you're going to beat most teams.
Rick Peterson is joining us. He covers all things local sports for TopSports.news, and that's why he joins us every Thursday for the local sports spotlight here on 580 Sports Talk. A quick Washburn thought for you, Pistol. How surprised were you when you saw the results from Thursday and Saturday's Washburn games last week?
I thought somewhere along the line that they could lose. Just it's so hard to go through almost a whole season like they have unbeaten. So them losing 1 really didn't surprise me. Maybe who they lost to surprised me, but to get two losses I thought that did surprise me. But then I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, oh gosh, poor Ichapods, and they're 22-2, and they got a 2-game went into this week with a 2-game lead in the MIAA. They're in good shape to host a regional, so we don't need to feel sorry for them. They need to bounce back in these 2 games, their last 2 home games. But I really expect them to.
Does tonight, and with all that context, I think it's very important and very grounded, Pistol, but I did want to ask, does it feel like this one tonight against Central Oklahoma? I don't want to go as far as to say it's a must-win game, but does it feel like maybe there's a little bit more on the line just so we can see this team, turn the gas back on here down the stretch?
Well, they need to turn the gas back on, like I said, to be in position to host a regional, to wrap up the regular season conference title. And I think they'll just be happy to be home. I mean, guys, they had to go to Arkansas, and they had to go to your favorite place, Tahlequah, and so I think they're just good to be back in T-Town and good to have. I expect, even though the weather hasn't been real good, I expect a good crowd tonight because I think people are ready to get outside, and I look for them to turn in a good performance tonight.
Rick Peterson covers local sports like nobody else at TopSports.news. That includes Shawnee County High School athletics and Washburn University sports. You can read it every day at TopSports.news. You can catch Pistol with us every Thursday here on the local sports spotlight. Pistol, always a pleasure. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you very much.
That is Rick Peterson. We will take a quick timeout, come back, and wrap up this hour, 580 Sports Talk. Quick round of either or over under to wrap up the 3 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Over under 2.5 Royals starting pitchers who make 30-plus starts in 2025.
Over under 2.5. I feel like I've got to go under. It's just the era we play. Like, I would love for Cole Reagans and Seth Lugo to go out and throw 33 starts again this year, or 32 starts again this year. I'd love that. It was just such an anomaly last year. Again, one team had fewer players throw multiple starts last year than the Royals did. And that was the Mariners, who had 6 dudes with 12 or more starts, which is insane. It's just the way the game works these days. I've got to go under. It kills me, though. I want like 4 starters to pitch every game.
What about 1.5? Would you still go under?
Yeah, I will. Like, if Lugo wasn't 36, I would go over.
35.
35. I'll go under.
Be his age 35 season. Yeah.
That bums me out, though.
No, I want to see it. I do, and I think that Lugo and Reagans in particular, like they're horses, but hard to imagine. You got a quick one?
Over under for me. Let's go with how many games are left in the regular season? Over under 2.5 more wins for KU in the regular season.
Ooh, I'll go over because they'll get the next 2 and they're not losing on senior night. So I'll go 3.
I hope not. I love that tradition, but Arizona comes to town, so
yeah, won't be easy. That's for sure. Brendan takes leave of us now. He's going to go do Washburn basketball. Washburn taking on Central Oklahoma at Lee Arena tonight. Pregame at 5:15. Tip off at 5:30 for the women, followed by the men over on Country 106.9. Spencer will join me in the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. We're talking Chiefs next. Let's get it. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk coming at you on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on video. Our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, streaming live, and our Facebook page, WIBW News, as well. I am Dan Lucero. Exit Brendan Wrzinski. Enter Spencer Dupuis for the final 2 hours today. You will be here for the final 2 hours, right?
Yes.
Please?
Free
for leave?
Yeah. I'm
good.
Closed in the 8th and the 9th.
All right. Good deal. A 6-out save for
Yes.
Spencer Dupuis tonight. I love it. So, Spencer's with me the rest of the way. Appreciate all of you being along today. Appreciate those of you in the live chat on YouTube. Again, 580 Sports Talk is the channel. There is a chat feature as you watch on the web browser, the mobile app. You can interact with us and your fellow listeners. You can also text the program. The text line is open, 785-272-9429. Hope everybody stayed warm through this morning. We heard it before we came back on air. 21 degrees, the expected high tomorrow. I might wear shorts.
Well, I might wear shorts on Monday.
Yeah, let's save the shorts until we come around the weekend, perhaps. But
Yeah.
no.
When there's a 6 in the start of the
I thought I read that this was the coldest it had been in Topeka since like 1989. And I saw that.
I thought that was last year.
No.
Last year it was really cold the first few days that I lived
it was
here.
crazy cold. I remember that we had a bit of a cold snap, but like not the wind chills, like the raw temperature was. I think I saw where it was the coldest since 1989, and I told my wife, who's born in 1991, I said, "There's a decent chance, like you go out to your car tomorrow to go to school, it will be the coldest it has ever been in your life. It will be the coldest you have been in your life."
Speaking of school,
what's the coldest you've ever been in your life?
Probably like 0 degrees.
0 degrees? You were colder than that this morning.
Before I moved here.
Okay.
Probably today.
Yeah,
whatever.
Little balmier up in the DMV.
Yeah.
Okay. I will tell you about the coldest I have ever been in my life. This was when my first job in radio, Warland, Wyoming. It was a winter morning, and I was on the morning show. We had an AM morning variety show. I did the sports. I did some other stuff too. Like I did like This Day in History. I did the news.
Yeah.
You know, I wore a lot of hats on the morning show. Small town radio, like old school small town radio. If you know, you know. And I was getting in my car at 5:45 in the morning to get to the radio station at 6. And my car started up just fine, which it was frigid, and I was a little concerned because I had an old car, a 95 Honda Civic at the time. But it started up fine. I pulled it onto Main Street. You know, Warland's got 5,000 people.
Yeah.
Kind of, I think, if I remember right, like 6 stoplights. And as I'm driving through downtown Warland on my way to, because the station building was on the edge of town near the river, and as I pull past the Pinnacle Bank, their marquee said the time, and then it said, I believe it was 33 degrees, except it didn't say 33 degrees. It said negative 33 degrees. It said minus 33 degrees. And it was cold enough that we couldn't get on the air. Like the transmitter was like froze up on us. So we were not. So I went to, and power went out. That was the other thing that happened. The power to the station building went out. So I got to the radio station at 5:55, and the news did not get read that morning. This Day in History did not get passed along. I sat there in the cold in a dark building with our other morning show host and waited for power to come back on. And that's the coldest I've ever been in my life.
Wow.
Minus 33 in Warland, Wyoming.
Yeah, real temperature has probably been 0, maybe -5.
Okay.
It's never really too cold in the DC area.
Okay. What's the coldest you ever felt then? Like going to a sporting event or standing outside for something, you're like, I have never been this cold. I wish I had a million blankets.
-20.
Okay. When was that?
West Virginia sometime.
Okay.
College sometime.
In college? Okay.
Going to class because they
never
never canceled class.
Never canceled class.
No.
Yeah, the 501's back in school. So your girlfriend, my wife, back to work today.
She had 8 students today.
Oh man,
of her normal 23.
I didn't think to ask my wife how many kids she was missing.
Apparently, they gave out excused absences to whoever didn't show up to school today.
I would imagine, the bus routes, like a lot of schools, there were schools that were closed today in the area because, it takes a long time to get out to those bus routes, and you don't want kids standing in that kind of cold for long waiting for the bus. So there were a lot of, my mother-in-law teaches at Jeff West, and Jeff West was canceled today. So I know that they did that in some places, but yeah, chilly one this morning. Anyway, that was 580 Weather Talk. We got some sports to get to. We got 2 hours left with you on this fine Thursday afternoon. We're going to talk some more Royals in the 5 o'clock hour, do something fun that I saw on X, the Everything app. It all happens on X, from the Farm to Fountains X account. It's a hard habit to break. But $24 to build your all-time Royals lineup. And if you are watching on the YouTube, we'll throw the graphic up in the 5 o'clock hour. You can play along with us. We'll also blast it out on X and Blue Sky accounts so that you can see it as well. And you can play along. Also going to tell the story of the Bird Lady. That's coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Vance in the YouTube chat was wondering if he had missed that. You have not. We're going to talk about the Bird Lady in the 5 o'clock hour. Absolutely bananas story. It's an extra headline and an extra what is wrong with you today. What is wrong with you still coming up. CJ Moore from The Athletic joins us bottom of this hour for the Big 12 basketball breakdown as well. And, of course, your comments in the YouTube live chat and your text, 785-272-9429. Chiefs need a left tackle. That's obvious. Yeah. They need a left tackle, and probably not a Band-Aid solution at left tackle. They would like to find, I would imagine, the person who's going to start at left tackle for the next 3 to 5 seasons this offseason. If they're looking towards the draft, maybe they have a vision of finding a starter for the next half decade to decade. But if they go the free agent route, that feels like a bit more of a Band-Aid of a solution. Feels more like you're looking for something for the next 2 years, like a Donovan Smith type of solution, which, look, that's fine. The Chiefs won a Super Bowl with Donovan Smith at left tackle. The idea that the Chiefs have to come away from this offseason with an elite left tackle, a top-of-the-scale left tackle, number one, it's not realistic because the Chiefs don't have the cap room. That player is not available via trade. That player, as we will tell you, is not available via free agency, and that player is not going to be available to the Chiefs in the draft picking 31st overall. They just need acceptable and reliable and trustworthy because that's really what you're looking for on the offensive line. It's a nice luxury to have a top-of-the-charts O-line like the Eagles have. Like the Eagles have an excellent left tackle, Jordan Mailata. There are a lot of teams with really, really good left tackles. The Chiefs have won Super Bowls with Eric Fisher starting at left tackle. Eric Fisher, nobody's idea of a superstar, but he was reliable, trustworthy, showed up, played every game. They've won a Super Bowl with Donovan Smith at left tackle. They've won a Super Bowl with Orlando Brown Jr. at left tackle. They've played 5 Super Bowls in this last 6 seasons and had a different starting left tackle in each and every one of them, which is one of the most amazing stats that you can possibly run across. Stability, reliability, more important here than ability. Like, obviously, you can't run a bum out there. You can't go get the second coming of Mike Remmers and call it good at left tackle. You got to find somebody who can play. But the idea that the Chiefs can fix left tackle with a stud at the spot, I don't think that's realistic. But what is realistic? What could the Chiefs do in free agency to address their left tackle situation? Well, befitting an underwhelming free agent class, there aren't a lot of great choices out there. Certainly no perfect players. Among the free agent left tackles, you could start with Cam Robinson, who, if you recall, was traded at the trade deadline from the Jaguars to the Vikings and has played for the Vikings in 2024 and didn't play particularly well in 2024. He's had his moments. He's been a starter in the league for 8 years now. Had some moments. He was a high second-round pick out of Alabama. Started 101 career games. 101 career starts. Started 17 games this last year. Had an injury issue in 2023, missed half the season, but generally played between 14 and 17 games in a regular season. Durable, but coming off of a difficult year. And he's also the youngest of like the top tier group of I guess I shouldn't say top tier. I should say the most prominent of the left tackle. He's 29 years old. Ronnie Stanley's the best player of the group. Like you just asked me, who could I get the highest level of play out of among free agent left tackles? I would say Ronnie Stanley, and I would say that without hesitating. And Ronnie Stanley was a Pro Bowler this past year for the second time. He's been a first-team All-Pro. He played all 17 games this last season for Baltimore. Here is the problem with Ronnie Stanley, who is 30 years old presently. Do you know offhand, Spencer? I'm going to let you guess. Can you guess how many times before 2024, in 9 seasons as a pro, in 8 previous seasons, Ronnie Stanley played every game?
2.
0. 0 is the correct answer. He had never played a full season.
Wow.
Yeah. 12 games his rookie year, 15 and 17 and 18. So 1 fewer than normal, or what the regular season was back then. Played 14 games in 2019, 6 games in 2020, 1 game in 2021, 11 games in 2022, 13 games in 23, and then last year made it through an entire season. So durability, a concern, but he is coming off of the healthiest season of his career.
Which might get him an extension in Baltimore.
Could very well get him an extension in Baltimore. There's a chance he doesn't even hit free agency.
Yeah.
Tyron Smith has had the best career of any of the guys we'll talk about, which is something you say about a player who is old. And, yeah, Tyron Smith is old. Here's a fun game. Guess when the last time Tyron Smith played a full season without injury? Go ahead, guess.
Never.
Now he has.
2018.
Not quite. 2015.
Oh my
2015, the last time Tyron Smith played a full season. Missed 3 games in 16, 3 in 17, 3 in 18, 3 in 19. Missed, when did they go to 17 games? Was it 2020 that they went to 17 games?
I think it was only 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was 21. It was 21 they went to 17 games. So he missed 14 games in 2020. He missed 6 games in 2021. He missed 13 games in 2022. He missed 4 games in 2023. And last year with the Jets, he missed 7 games. Now, he was a second-team All-Pro as recently as 2023. He's going to the Hall of Fame. Tyron Smith is a future Hall of Famer. 2-time first-team All-Pro, 5-time All-Pro, been to the Pro Bowl 8 times, all-decade team guy in the 2010s. 34 years old. Best football probably behind him. And again, an injury concern.
Yeah, and an injury concern, and he could decide that he doesn't want to play football anymore.
He could. 34 years old. Maybe he hangs it up if there's
because there is breaking news from earlier, just about 10 minutes ago. 7-time All-Pro guard Zach Martin has told the Cowboys he's going to retire.
Zach Martin. We talked about Zach Martin earlier this week.
Yeah.
We had mentioned
he was rumored as a fit by a lot of people for the Chiefs.
Yes. ESPN wrote that his best fit was in free agency was with the Chiefs. But yeah, Tom Pelissero reporting that, 6 minutes ago. Thank you for that. Yeah, Zach Martin's going to call it a career. So, yeah, we could see that with Tyron Smith as well.
Same age.
Yeah. DJ Humphries is a free agent. That would be the player, obviously, with the most familiarity with the Chiefs. But DJ Humphries hasn't played a lot of football. Just 2 games last season, both with Kansas City. And the Chiefs looked at those 2 games and decided, yeah, we'd rather go with Joe Thuney at left tackle in the playoffs. And we'd rather ride on the donut. We looked at this tire, and we've decided we'd rather keep rolling on the spare and just hope it doesn't explode and blow up our fender and send us into the wall.
And it did in the Super Bowl.
It did. It did. Oh, boy, did it. So DJ Humphries is an option, and I don't hate that idea, honestly. Like, you could sell that to me. If the Chiefs said, look, we brought Humphries in, it was an audition. We felt like at the time Thuney was the best fit there at left tackle, But Humphreys is now a year further removed from the ACL. He knows the system. He was a good teammate. We're going to bring him back and give him a chance to win the job. Like, I could see that. I think it'll probably have to be a contract like that, like a 1-year kind of a prove-it deal that he gets from somebody to come in and compete for the spot. And if the Chiefs are the team that does that, I could live with that. But also, Humphreys turns 32 next year. And the Chiefs, again, they didn't bother bringing back Donovan Smith this past season, who was 31, because they felt like, yeah, we can do better. We got these rookies. We got these kids. We're going to slide in at left tackle. We'll be fine. And they weren't fine, as you all well know. So those are like the veterans, the war horses, if you will, at left tackle. There are a couple of younger guys that are going to hit free agency this season for the first time. Alaric Jackson is intriguing. Alaric Jackson, undrafted out of Iowa, has been the starter at left tackle for the Rams for the last 2 seasons. Started 14 of the 17 games this past year. And one thing that jumps out about him immediately, did not commit a holding penalty last year, so that'd be nice. 4 false starts, though. You don't love that.
No, but a holding penalty, I think that'd be nice.
Yeah, no holding penalties. Alaric Jackson is 6'7", 345 pounds. Reason he missed games last year was one of the reasons was he served a 2-game suspension for violation of the personal conduct policy in the NFL. For what it is worth to any of you, Pro Football Focus thought Jackson was pretty good this last year. 26 years old, had a PFF grade of 78, which is above average, comfortably above average for the position. The other young free agent is Jedrick Wills, who started for the Browns. He missed 12 games due to an injury, and when he was out there, he was not good. His PFF grade was 52, just shy of 53. So a couple of younger names to choose from. The more I think about it, the more I'm intrigued by Alaric Jackson. I think that's a player who could potentially, because you know what he kind of reminds me of is a guy like Jawan Taylor, who hit free agency, and the Chiefs were quick to identify him as somebody they wanted and snatched him up and paid him a pretty penny, and he's been reliable. And I think he struggled last season. I also don't think he's as bad as he gets credit for. I think that he's a bit of a contradiction. Like, I feel like he's both better and worse than he gets credit for.
Yeah.
So I believe that there's a similarity there with a young guy who's been a starter and who the Chiefs might say, look, we want stability. We want a young guy that we're going to plug in. We'll do a 4-year deal, and that's our guy. Boom. We're going after this player. We're targeting that player in free agency. But is Jackson good enough? He was PFF. He was pretty good last year. Is he good enough? Is he trustworthy enough? Or do the Chiefs say we'd rather do a little less money, fewer years, and take a gamble on a player like Robinson or Stanley, who has a higher level of established performance, but we just don't know how much football they're going to play. We'll take the gamble on the ability and cross our fingers about the availability. Do you think that's something, Spencer, the Chiefs can afford to do, is gamble on availability?
No, I don't think they can gamble on availability. Obviously, we saw this year, not that he wasn't good enough to be available. Talking about Kingsley Suamataia, and the frustration that it caused Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
That they didn't figure it out, that there's no viable option there at the middle of the season point at left tackle. And then they had a viable option until it wasn't viable anymore.
Yeah. And you can't be in a position where you ride into the postseason on a spare tire again. You can't have that. So, I mean, look, you can't guarantee the health of anybody. Stuff happens, injuries happen. Maybe they look at Ronnie Stanley if the Ravens decide to pass on bringing him back, and they say, hey, he's finally healthy. Played 17 games last year. He's finally healthy. Let's bring in Ronnie Stanley. Hey, we had success with one former Raven left tackle. Let's see if we can give that a spin and see if 2-3 years of Ronnie Stanley settles down the left tackle position. I think that this is the most likely path for the Chiefs. I don't think that their starting left tackle for 2025 is going to be found with the 31st overall pick. Now, maybe they trade up, and if they were to trade up in the draft, then maybe there's somebody there in the 20s who might be able to start day one. But I think right now, as it stands, with the assets available to the Chiefs, the draft picks that they have on hand, the cap room that they have on hand, the players in free agency that they already have to make decisions on that are their own guys, I think it's most likely that the Chiefs try for a short-term solution at left tackle through free agency. And by short-term, I don't mean just one season. I do think they'll take a shot at somebody on a 2-3 year deal. Maybe they do something like the Taylor deal with Alaric Jackson. I could see that. I don't think that particular path is likely. And I do think that Patrick Mahomes is going to have some input on this. I think that Brett Veach has already had that conversation, if I had to guess, with Patrick Mahomes. Hey, what do you think about left tackle? Where do you want to go at left tackle? DJ Humphries, what do you think about bringing him back? What do you think about Ronnie Stanley? What do you think about Tyron Smith? If that conversation hasn't happened already, I'd be surprised. I would be sure that it would happen at some point down the road. And I think one of the names we just read to you, I think there's a decent chance that they end up a Chief. I think there's a better than 50-50 chance that one of the names we just mentioned is a Kansas City Chief in 2025. I'll go out on that limb right now and say that's the direction the Chiefs are going to go.
Yeah, I'll go out that way as well. And I have this weird feeling that, unfortunately, it's going to be DJ Humphries.
I mean,
they're not going to address it.
That'd be the easy way, right?
I just don't think they're going to be able to address it in free agency.
It's going to be tough to swallow if they let Trey Smith go and then they turn around and like they gave Alaric Jackson like the Jawan Taylor deal, and they lose Trey Smith. Like that would be tough to explain to the fans. That's a tough press conference for Brett Veach and Andy Reid there. We'll take a quick break, come back with What Is Wrong With You, sponsored by State Farm agent Ryan Mowinkle. CJ Moore's coming up to talk basketball with us in just a bit. This is 580 Sports Talk. What is wrong with you time on 580 Sports Talk? What is wrong with you is sponsored by our buddy Mo, Ryan Mowinkle, State Farm agent. Visit his website, ryanmowinkle.com. That's MOHWINKLE. See what Mowinkle Insurance and Financial Services can do for you. Our current weekly champ, Meth Cannon. The two guys who were trying to shoot meth and cigs into a prison yard with a T-shirt cannon. It really got funnier there just now reading it. I don't know if I'm spoiling anything by saying I think he's going to keep on as our champ. Hey, we got two new stories today. I'll go first. We go to the Bronx, where a 15-year-old boy was accused of trying to take a subway train for a joyride. Happened in Longwood around 4:45 a.m. He allegedly tried to operate a number 2 train at the Prospect Avenue subway station. He was charged with reckless endangerment, criminal impersonation, and criminal trespassing. The reason this story is funny to me, you're familiar with how subways work, right?
Yeah.
They go one direction.
Yeah.
The train goes one direction. So, like, yeah, you take a train car, and you think you're going to take it for a joyride. Oh, no. Where's he getting away to? The next stop. How far will he go? To the end of the line. Just didn't really think it through.
Yeah.
Oh, to be young again. That's my story. What you got?
I've got a similar kind of story where they're joyriding. We're going to go to Brookville, Florida. A man faces criminal charges after deputies clocked him driving 132 miles per hour on Suncoast Parkway, according to the Hernando County Sheriff's Office. HCSO says a deputy tried to stop a driver later identified as Brent Stryken, 30, for driving nearly twice the posted 70-mile-an-hour speed limit. He eventually exited on a Cortez Boulevard, according to deputies, then passed multiple other vehicles before pulling into a car dealership. They said he didn't initially listen to their commands, but was soon arrested. He faces charges of reckless driving, resisting an officer without violence, and possession of a prescription in violation of law.
That's really fast. 132 miles per hour. Like, I have dared to take my vehicle to triple digits once or twice.
You do have a car that at one point was, seen as like the car that goes fast.
Yeah, I drive a Dodge Charger, for those who don't know. It's got a little giddy up. I have
you do have a V6 though.
No. Yeah, you're right. V6. Yeah, it's not the Hemi. Not the Hemi.
Not
yeah,
the Hemi.
It's not that cool. It's the dad Charger, trust me. But like, I've dared to get it up to 100 just for a little bit, just to feel that speed. I understand having the need for speed. I no longer have it. I got old, and I lost that need for speed. And in a related story, I haven't gotten a speeding ticket in many, many years. But 132 miles an hour is insane.
Yeah.
Insane. Wild behavior. All right.
And then he pulls into a car dealership. Like, what was he test driving a vehicle?
Maybe he was. I need to see how fast. Need to feed a little speed to the ride.
Yeah.
All right. Who wins today?
Yours.
Yeah. Okay. We'll go with the kid trying to steal a subway, take it for a joyride.
Like, where's it going?
Yeah.
What an idiot.
Bad plan.
Yeah.
It does not beat Meth Cannon.
No way.
Meth Cannon, moving on What Is Wrong With You, sponsored by Ryan Mowinkle. Check out Mowinkle Insurance and Financial Services. Find his website, ryanmowinkle.com. See what Mo can do for you if something may be wrong with you. We'll take a timeout, come back. CJ Moore from The Athletic is going to join us for the Big 12 basketball breakdown. That's coming up here on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline by the best college basketball feature writer in America. CJ Moore covers the sport for The Athletic. You can find him across social media with the handle CJ Moore Hoops. You can catch him Thursdays for the Big 12 basketball breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk. CJ, I'll lay it out bluntly. Can what is broken about the Kansas Jayhawks presently be fixed?
I think it can obviously get better. Like, there's nowhere to go but up at this point. Like, that had to be the valley. But I do think it's a flawed roster, a flawed team. The ceiling isn't very high. We're at least as high as you're used to it being for a Kansas team. But, part of me wants to say, like, it is still a team that somehow beat Duke, that basically had Houston beat. And, I think that's about as well as they could play. So they've had performances where they play well. They just can't seem to pit very many of them in a row together. And I think they're really searching right now. Like, the fact that Bill Self started the other day, KJ, DeJuan, and Hunter all together. To me, that said everything you need to know. Like, he doesn't trust many of those guys. Those are the ones he trusts to, like, be able to put together a game plan and execute a game plan. And obviously it went about as poorly as it can go. But I think the last 2 years they've just kind of had flawed rosters, and you're seeing that about get as bad as it can get.
Hindsight is 2020, and this was the preseason number one team in America, and we're talking
not mine,
not yours. But hey, look, I picked Houston to win the national championship back in November when we were getting this thing started. So they weren't, I guess, my preseason number one either, but they were the preseason number one. There were people that looked at this roster and saw the best team in America, and as you mentioned, early in the year, they looked the part. They beat Duke on a neutral site in a thrilling game and had to weather the loss of Hunter Dickinson in that game to do it. I guess my question is, because this is the second straight year now where we saw Kansas early last year get a big win over UConn early in the season that felt like Kansas planting their flag and saying, this is who we are, this is what we're capable of, and then not reaching those heights as the Big 12 season wore on. At least last year you had some injury issues you could kind of pin it on, but this year, why do you think it is that this team has maybe even backslid a little bit from where it looked like they could be all the way back in November?
I think, Hunter Dickinson was playing at a higher level then. I think he has to be awesome for them to be good, especially offensively, because when he's on the floor defensively, like, it's an issue. Like, teams go at him. Teams have figured out how to go at him. It's hard for them to hide him. And then, he just hasn't been nearly as efficient lately, struggling to finish around. And that's a big part of it. Like, he needs to be awesome for them to be good. And he hasn't been very good lately. And, he's still putting up numbers, but they're pretty empty. Like, they're happening after they've, gotten pretty far down. And I think that's for this team to kind of turn it around, he's got to be really, really good. And he just hasn't been, because it's all been built around him. Like, you went and got shooting to put around him. And, obviously there's other issues with trying to play him, DeJuan, and KJ together. But, like, those are the guys you have to roll with because they're some of your best players. And the fact that they're some of your best players is probably, that's the problem. Like, KU is used to having pros, and they don't have pros.
How did that happen? How did Bill Self end up with a roster with, if there's a future NBA guy on this team, it's probably Flory Badunga, and we all acknowledge that he's project.
Far from it right now.
Yeah, he's a project. He couldn't be further from that ceiling. How did this end up happening? And is that going to be, Bill Self will tell you at the end of every season that falls short of a championship, what he will say flat out, what needs to happen for his team to get to the level he wants it to be at. When he said they need to get deeper, they need to get more athletic, and they went out and they added Remy Martin to the transfer portal. They win a national championship. The last 2 years, they've talked a lot about shooting, and they've tried to add shooting in the portal, and they haven't really added the requisite shooting, at least in the way that they thought they were going to. What is it that you think the lesson of this season might be for Bill Self regarding his team building moving forward and how he's got to acquire talent? Because sure seems like he's got an NBA guy coming to campus next year with old Bucket Jones, Daryl Peterson.
Yeah, I think it's been poor evaluations. I think that they've picked guys that aren't right for him, that aren't right for the way he coaches, what he wants out of guys, and I mean it's really as simple as that. Like they've just picked the wrong dudes. Like AJ Storr, I think they're paying him a lot of money to not play too much. I think there are good players out of the portal that are doing well at other places. So it's not strictly the portal has broken Kansas, because like it's a portal thing. It's like they're picking the wrong guys in the portal. Like you gotta, and it is tough because you make those evaluations quick, and they go in and you got to get in there fast, and you're trying to decide really quickly whether that's a guy you want or not, and they've just missed on too many of them.
We're joined by CJ Moore of The Athletic here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline for the Big 12 Hoops Breakdown. And Kansas State, they had won 6 in a row. Now they've lost 2 in a row when they went to they went to Utah. They should probably just stay out of that state at this point. But what do you think?
Bad for the Kansas teams.
Yeah. What do you think's their ceiling the rest of the season, the final 5 games? Do you think there's a chance they could get their way into potentially the NCAA tournament?
I think they could potentially win like 4 of the 5. I don't know. It might, I think I told you guys before, like I hate bracketology.
Right.
I don't look at it. And
You'd rather talk ball than vibes. Like I get it. I'm with you.
Yeah. But I'm I kind of know what tournament teams usually look like. They might have to run the table in the regular season, or win 4 and then really, really go on a run at the Big 12 tournament. So they've got a lot of work to do. I think losing at BYU wasn't a big knock, but they really needed to figure out a way probably to win at Utah to really keep their tournament chances looking decent. And right now they're in a tough spot.
Speaking of Utah, real quick, CJ, does that kind of reorient the season that Craig Smith has had in their first year in the Big 12? Those 2 wins that they got over the weekend. Now they're 7-8 in the league, and I kind of thought they might be down with Colorado as one of the worst teams in the league this year. But now they're kind of in the middle of the pack. Have they maybe changed their, I guess, the perception of their season and what might be possible for them in the Big 12?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's promising. For them that they've kind of pulled it together here, and if they finish around 500, that at least gives them something to build off of. And you look at their whole like resume, like they might be in a better spot than Kansas State, honestly, because they don't have any terrible losses. Like Iowa's their worst loss out of conference, and Iowa's kind of falling apart a little bit. But that wasn't at that point what team wasn't that bad of a team. And, they do have that loss to Oklahoma State that's going to hurt their resume, but they don't have as many bad losses as like K-State had. So, maybe we should be here. Okay, now K-State has some better quality wins, but maybe we should be like, well, maybe, if there's another team that's going to go crazy here at the end and sneak in, maybe it's Utah.
We're talking CJ Moore here on 580 Sports Talk. It is the Big 12 basketball breakdown. CJ Moore covers the sport for The Athletic. You can find him across social media with the handle CJ Moore Hoops. Mentioned Utah at 7-8 in the league. TCU is somehow over 500. When I saw them play against K-State earlier this year, I could not have been more underwhelmed with the TCU roster that was completely overhauled pretty much and had lost Frankie Collins at that point, and they're sitting at over 500 in the league. I bring that up to ask you, which coach do you think in this league has maybe overachieved the most with the talent on hand here in this Big 12 season to date?
I would still go Darren DeVries. Just the fact that they've been a tournament level team. missing one of their two best players in Tucker. And, I think it was really built around, this group was built around Javon and Tucker being the dudes and just kind of hoping to have some complimentary guys around him. So the fact that he's been able to hold it together and be a tournament level team, I would say he's done the most with what he has.
Couple more questions here for CJ Moore of The Athletic as we're talking Big 12 basketball, the Big 12 basketball breakdown. Looking ahead to the weekend schedule in the conference, the big obvious game to circle the red letter game for the Big 12 this weekend, Iowa State makes the trek to Houston. It's a 1 p.m. tip-off. It'll be on ESPN. What do you think is the most crucial aspect of this matchup that will decide who comes out of the pavilion with a win?
I think who shoots it well from three. It's so hard to score on these teams inside the arc. Who will shoot it well from three? Who will limit their turnovers? Both teams that can really turn you over and get out in transition. So you're going to want to be able to limit transition opportunities and score from beyond the arc. And the team that probably does that the best will probably be the team to win it.
Ask you a couple of questions on the national college basketball scene. Has your mind changed? Have you wavered any on who you think the best team in America is?
No, it's been Auburn pretty much from start to here.
Auburn went on the road, beat Alabama over the weekend. I had a chance to watch that game, and I read your top 25 piece on The Athletic, and you spoke to that game. And the impressive thing about Auburn being their depth. There's not many teams out there that have a lineup full of guys that can hurt you offensively. And Auburn's really rare in that regard. I can't think of too many others who can go 1 through 5 and all their guys can score.
Yeah, there's a few up top in the rankings, but I think they have a number of guys that can go for 20 plus every night. And their best talent might be Tahad Pettiford, and he comes off the bench. So it's a pretty, they've got a bunch of different ways they can beat you. They can beat you with their inside guys. They can beat you with guards. They can beat you with wings. They can beat you with shooting. They can just pound it inside. So they're almost like the most upset team least likely to get upset that they're near the top just because, and they can really guard. They could win a game with defense if they have to. So, it'll probably be my national title pick. I think Duke's really, really good. I think Florida is come on and playing at an even higher level than they were early on, and they were undefeated early on. There's a couple of freaking Missouri is on a rocket ship right now and playing awesome. So there's some other teams that I think could beat Auburn or could beat Duke, but those are the two that have kind of separated themselves, and Alabama might be kind of coming back to that next tier lately with the way they've played the last couple. Last
question for you, CJ. You got about a minute here. It's well known. It's been a long time, very long time since the Big Ten has won a national championship, but the Big Ten has been really good this year, really good at the top, a lot deeper than I think people would have expected it to be. Which Big Ten team do you like the best for March? Which team do you think is most built for a run to maybe be the team that's the first to win a title since 2000, Michigan State?
I don't think any of them are quite good enough to win 6 in a row, but the two that I would maybe, I would say have the best chance to get to the Final Four would probably be Michigan. I think Michigan and I have the best front court, one of the best front courts in college basketball. Danny Wolf, if you haven't got a chance to watch him yet, he's tremendous and really, really fun player. Can handle. He's kind of like a Cooper Flag. He can handle it. He can do everything. He can shoot. He's been really, really good. And then Wisconsin, they just put so many shooters on the floor. John Tonji's been All-American level guy. They shoot at half their shots from three. And they run really, really great offense and are fun to watch. So those would probably be the two. Illinois, down the list there, if they can ever put it together, is maybe the most talented group, but they haven't played very well lately.
CJ Moore covers college basketball for The Athletic. If you are a subscriber, you should be reading his stuff every single week. He's the best college basketball feature writer in America, and he joins us Thursdays on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline for the Big 12 basketball breakdown. CJ, it's always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
All right. Thanks, guys.
That is CJ Moore. We'll take a timeout, come back, wrap up this hour. 580 Sports Talk after this. Quickly wrapping up this 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer hanging out with you. We got one more hour together. We're going to do our 580 Sports Talk headlines at the top of the hour. We're going to do our Royals dream lineup. Just retweeted the picture from the Farm to Fountains podcast over on X. We'll do it on Blue Sky as well. We'll put the graphic up on our YouTube, 580 Sports Talk, the YouTube channel, when we're talking about it, so you can see what we're doing and follow along with us as we build our Royals dream lineup. And also the saga of Bird Lady. You're not going to believe it. You're going to want to stick around for it. That's all coming up on the 5 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 3 of 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday afternoon in the capital city. Thanks for joining us on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. And an extra special hello to those of you watching us on our video stream, our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. I am Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis is across the glass. Just the two of us the rest of the way. Brendan Dworzinski's getting locked and loaded for Ichabod basketball over on our sister station, exclusive home of the Ichabod's Country 106.9. Washburn at home tonight, the women and the men taking on Central Oklahoma. Tip-off for the women's game set for 5:30. So Brendan will be on air in about 8 minutes or so here, again, over on Country 106.9. He'll have the action throughout the night. Ichabod women looking for a second straight win. Washburn men trying to bounce back after their first 2 losses of the season occurred last week on the trip through Fort Smith and Northeastern State. Again, that's where Brendan's at. You can catch him on the exclusive home of the Ichabods, Country 106.9, pregame coverage starting at 5:15.
It's pink out at Lear.
It is. It is a pink out night. Brendan looking dapper on social media in his pink Ichabod shirt. Pink is not my color.
It's not mine either.
I don't say that like, ew, pink, gross, girly, ew. No, I don't look good in pink. Yeah. Like it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. Brendan's rocking it though. He looks good. He's on his socials, looking fly in the pink. Washburn women will be wearing the pink tonight, and they'll get started here momentarily.
It's their penultimate home games.
That's right. Yeah, we're getting close to the end of the regular season. MIAA tournaments right around the corner. Speaking of socials, you can follow us on X, 580 Sports Talk. You can follow us on Blue Sky, also 580 Sports Talk. And both of those places we've blasted out what we're going to be talking about here in a little bit later on this hour. The all-time Royals dream lineup constructed by the folks at Farm to Fountains, which is a Royals podcast, covers the minor leagues. Website also covers the minor leagues. And you've got $24 to build your ultimate Royals lineup. You can go check that out on our socials, or you can just follow Farm to Fountains at Farm to Fountains on both Blue Sky and we're on Facebook, WIBW News. We'll put the graphic up while we're talking about it so you can see what it is that we're talking about. We're going to build our ultimate Royals lineup, but we don't have a lot of money. We got to fill 9 slots. We only got $24.
Yeah.
And the prices go $5 down to $1. So
I've already hit a dilemma. I'm not fully done yet.
Yeah, it was hard filling mine out, but we're gonna do that a little bit later on this hour. And also, as promised, we will get to the saga of the Bird Lady, because it's not just the Chiefs who have super fans who get in trouble with the law. Nope, this super Falcon fan, the Bird Lady, defrauding people, false promises, broken dreams of tailgating glory. It's a story that really has to be read in full to be believed, but we'll share the highlights with you because the minute I saw it, I knew we had to talk about it on the radio today. So that is still coming up this hour. Plus your comments in the YouTube live chat. If you are watching on 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel, you can interact in the live chat room. Join us. Join your fellow listeners. You can also text the program today, 785-272-9429. It's a text line number, 785-272-9429. But let's get things revved up with our 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll start with this breaking news from The Athletic. This just broke at the top of the hour. Breaking news from The Athletic. MLB ESPN opt out of TV deal for 2026 through 28. MLB cites minimal coverage. The major leagues and ESPN have mutually agreed to end their national television deal after the upcoming 2025 season. Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, wrote a note to his owners and says that the league has, quote, not been pleased with the minimal coverage that MLB has received on ESPN's platforms over the past several years outside of the actual live game coverage. This is one of those You've seen the meme from The Onion, or I think it was Clickhole. Heartbreaking, the worst person you know just made a very good point. Yeah, that's how I feel about Rob Manfred here. Heartbreaking. The worst commissioner you know is absolutely right about how ESPN treats Major League Baseball. And on the one hand, I get it because the NFL moves the needle and the NBA moves the needle. But you and I were talking about earlier today off the air, Spencer, just talking about in the office how, like, we don't want Get Up to talk about sports that we like baseball or hockey, because they don't know. Like, I don't want to hear what Molly Querim has to say about the NHL. I don't want any Stephen A. Smith college basketball or MLB takes. No thanks. I don't care what they have to say because they don't know.
Yeah.
They're just asked, oh, hey, here's the topic today. Go blast it out. Like, they're not in the field with those sports. And it shows every time they open their mouth and they talk about those sports. But Rob Manfred is right. ESPN is NFL first, second, and third. And then it's the NBA. And then it's its college sports properties. And Major League Baseball does get short shrift. Let me ask you this question. When's the last time you watched an episode of Baseball Tonight? That used to be, I watched it religiously.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Baseball Tonight, the only time I remember seeing Baseball Tonight is in the last couple of years when they would go live. They did Baseball Tonight, Ohtani or Judge Watch.
Yeah.
Like the Judge home run watch.
Right.
They would do a special edition of MLB Tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Used to be like you would know when it was on.
Yeah.
You would know every night that Baseball Tonight was going to be on. You were going to get baseball highlights. You were going to get the web jams. You were going to get all that stuff. And they do Baseball Tonight on Sunday before Sunday Night Baseball, but then it airs so infrequently. ESPN was asking MLB to take a lower rights fee than the $550 million per year average value that the deal called for, a figure MLB could be hard-pressed to match elsewhere. The contract was agreed to back in 2021. It would seem to be mutually beneficial for MLB and ESPN to continue to work together, but as of now, it looks like the end of the 2025 season will be it for Major League Baseball on ESPN. MLB already has baseball rights deals in place with Apple TV. They air a Friday night game of the week, usually a doubleheader. They pay $85 million a year for that. Also, Roku pays $10 million a season for a Sunday morning baseball package. But and then, of course, there's the deal with Fox that includes the postseason World Series. There's a deal with TBS that includes a good chunk of the postseason as well. But baseball and ESPN have been synonymous as long as I've been alive. Yeah. I mean, and I remember one of my first memories of watching baseball on TV was Baseball Tonight, and Nolan Ryan's 7th no-hitter was on ESPN. There was the night on ESPN they showed 2 no-hitters back-to-back. They showed, I think it was Ryan's no-hitter, and Dave Stewart threw a no-hitter on the same night. And they were both on ESPN. Crazy as that is. I would be sad to see ESPN not cover Major League Baseball anymore, just as I was when ESPN dropped hockey for all those years, because I don't think that you benefit as a major sport by being outside the lens of the worldwide leader in sports. I hope that there is a deal that they can come to, but Major League Baseball might have to swallow their pride a little bit and accept a little less money. And I don't know if they're willing to do that. I also don't think there's $550 million out there from like Amazon Prime or Netflix or Peacock or whoever it is. There might be. Maybe there is.
I have a solution to all of this.
What's your solution?
Every game that is not available on a national broadcast, the MLB just says, you know, the only way this is going to happen, every game on ESPN Plus, like the NHL
and
does.
that would have made so much sense for MLB, because MLB TV had already offered a game of the week through ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
Or ESPN Plus had offered a game of the week through MLB TV, or game of the day. It was a free game every day on 2 random teams. There's a free game every day on MLB TV. And that would have been such an easy way to continue that relationship. But no, Major League Baseball wants more money and they want more coverage. And if they're not going to get it from ESPN, I don't know who else is going to give that to them, either the coverage or the money.
I mean, Amazon's
got the money, but
they're really picking up. I mean, not that we don't talk about this on the show, but NASCAR being picked up on Prime. I think the NBA is going to be picked up on Prime.
Yeah, NBA is going to have a package on Prime along with their NBC deal. Yeah.
But
those sports, like, well, the NBA still has that ESPN presence. I still think you need to be on the 4-letter. You need to be on the worldwide leader. And Major League Baseball deciding that that's not something they're going to do moving forward. Be careful what you wish for, Rob Manfred. You might get it. Next headline, Spencer.
Yes, from NBA.com. Victor Wembanyama expected to miss the rest of the season. Spurs center Victor Wembanyama will be out for the rest of the 2024-2025 season after he was diagnosed with a blood clot in his right shoulder, the team announced today. The news comes hours before San Antonio is set to host the Suns tonight on 8:30 on TNT to tip off the post-All-Star break portion of the schedule. So obviously, Victor Wembanyama, a big part of that, the reason why they were going to be on national TV.
Right, the reason they were going to be on TV. So he's been diagnosed with deep vein thrombosis, which is a scary deal. And you have to treat that with blood thinners, and generally it is not a good idea for somebody who's on blood thinners to play a contact sport. So the hope is, and the reporting out of San Antonio, Mike Finger, who has long covered the Spurs down in San Antonio, says that the Spurs are not concerned about this long term. There's not a long-term concern with Wembanyama's health. They believe this can be treated. They believe that he can return to basketball-related activities by this summer and work out and be prepared for the start of the 2025-26 season. But that's a major bummer that one of the reasons to watch the NBA is to watch the 7'4" Frenchman do what he does, which is, in case you haven't seen it, everything. He is like an alien. He's unbelievable. He was going to win Defensive Player of the Year. Like, it was a lock. Now he's not going to be eligible to win the award because he won't have played in enough games. He was averaging 21.5 points, 10.5 boards, 4 assists, 3.5 blocks per game last year. This year, he was up closer to 4 blocks a game while averaging 24 points, 11 rebounds, and again, about 3.5 assists. He has he's an incredible player, and this is a scary health situation, and hopefully he will be able to return to the hardwood next season with no long-term complications, because he is a special player. And if you need a reason to watch the NBA, he's as good of one as there is. Next headline from ESPN. I'm only sharing this because this is kind of again, we're not really on the NBA beat, but this is one of those that either you believe the story or you think it's the most ridiculous lie you've ever heard in your life. Bucks Bobby Portis banned 25 games for violating anti-drug policy. 2 consecutive shows. We mentioned Bobby Portis. His house got broken into. We mentioned him yesterday. We're on a 2-day Bobby Portis streak. He's been suspended for 25 games for violating the league's anti-drug policy. That's the majority of the remainder of the season. The Bucks have only 28 games left in their season. Portis tested positive for tramadol, which, as you know, is used to treat severe pain among adults. His agent, Mark Bartelstein, says it was an accident and that he thought he was taking Toradol, which is an approved pain medication that teams and players frequently use. Tramadol is not an approved pain medication, and in fact was just recently added to the NBA's banned substance list. He thought he was taking Toradol. He was taking Tramadol. That's a banned substance. He's going to miss 25 games. Whether that's true or not, and I could understand if your reaction is to roll your eyes and say, yeah, whatever, likely story. Whether that is true or not, it is wild. That drug in particular, which is like, it's not a performance enhancer. It's a pain reliever, right? Yeah. It's not a performance enhancing drug. It's not a hard drug of abuse. It's not like it's not cocaine. It's not PCP, and it's not HGH or a steroid. It's a pain medication. It's banned, and the NBA surely has its reasons for banning it. But to get a 25-game suspension for that, the same suspension that Tristan Thompson got for taking growth hormone, like steroids, and only a 5-game less suspension than Miles Bridges of the Hornets got for some horrible domestic violence accusations. Nah, man, that doesn't wash with me. That's too harsh. Free my man Bobby Portis. Suspended, sure, fine. But 25 games for Tramadol seems a little excessive to me. Next headline.
Yes, next headline here from ESPN as well. SEC's Greg Sankey, Big Ten's Tony. How do you say it? Is it Petiti?
Yes.
Okay. Agree to CFP seedings need changed. So they've agreed that the way teams are seated in the 12-team college football playoff should change this fall. While the voices of the two wealthiest and most powerful conferences carry certain weight, any changes before the 2025 season have to be unanimously agreed upon by the 10 FBS commissioners and Notre Dame athletic director Pete
Bavacqua. So
I think this is good, right? Like, they know it needs to change, but will it actually get changed?
So the popular suggestion has been to use the selection committee's ranking to seed the teams while the top 5 highest ranked conference champions still get in. So in that scenario, Boise State, instead of getting the 3 seed, would have been seeded 9th. And Arizona State, instead of getting the 4 seed in a bye, they would have been seeded 12th. And then Texas and Penn State, who we saw in the tournament were, pretty good, won playoff games, they would have gotten byes instead of being seeded 5th and 6th and having to play a first-round game before reaching the quarterfinals. Yeah, as much as I am wary is putting it mildly, of just how much power the SEC and the Big Ten have in all of this, I actually think they're right on this. Like, for the sake of, like, if we agree that this is an entertainment product, for the sake of the product, to improve the quality of it, this makes sense. Like, they don't automatically give conference champions certain seeding in the NCAA basketball tournament, right? You don't line them up by, all right, the Big Ten champion, and then the ACC champion gets a 1 seed, and then the Big 12 champion gets a 1 seed, and the Big East champion gets a 2 seed, and it's all the tournament champions that get the automatic bids. No, that's not how they do it. It's never been how they do it. The committee seeds the teams in terms of their overall quality, and then you have the automatic qualifiers that get in. I am A-okay with that being the way forward. Even if that means that the group of 5 champ will usually be the 12 seed, I'm okay with that. I really am. I'm fine with that. This is a change that I can believe in. I'm good with it. You good with it?
Yeah.
All right. One more headline to get to today. From The Athletic. Donald Trump, which wishes Team USA luck, stokes political tensions ahead of 4 Nations final versus Canada. It's the biggest thing on the sports calendar tonight. It's the 4 Nations face-off championship game. Team USA, Team Canada from TD Garden in Boston tonight. And before the game, President Donald Trump phoned Team USA to express his support ahead of the game after he had previously this morning referred to Canada in a post to his Truth Social account as the 51st state and referred to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau as Governor Trudeau. This is why I always think it's funny when people want sports talkers to, quote, stick to sports and leave politics out of sports talk. Because trust me when I tell you, we would very much at all times prefer to stick to sports. This is the biggest thing, like I said, on the sports calendar tonight. And on its own, manifestly, this is a hockey game. And a pretty cool one, right?
Yeah.
This is the best talent the world has to offer on NHL ice, playing for national pride. That alone is enough. You should watch it if you like sports. Like, this is the thing that if you're looking for a recommendation, what should I do tonight? Watch this. Watch this game. I will tune in for sure. But this is also very much a game of our political moment. And I think if there's one thing to say about it that is not hockey related, it is this. I think there are a lot of people who perceive any commentary regarding Canada becoming the 51st state to be a joke, like a ha-ha joke. Like, hi, you're America's hat, bunch of hosers, eh? You know, that whole thing. And maybe the president does too. Maybe it makes people around him laugh or gets enough likes on social media, gets the right kind of attention. So he keeps saying that he's going to do it without having any actual desire to have our military cross the 49th parallel. We may think it's a joke, and you get whatever mileage you get out of that joke. Maybe you think that's really funny. But I cannot even begin to describe to you how not funny Canada thinks this all is, and how not funny Canadians think this all is. they had to fight for their independence too, just like we did.
Yeah.
I have a history degree, but I learned about all that well before I walked across the stage to get that particular diploma. The independence is the thing they had to fight for. So you've probably seen, and maybe even seen some video of it or heard about it, that the Canadian fans booed the Star-Spangled Banner prior to the tournament games that were played in Canada for this Four Nations face-off. And the act of booing our national anthem, as those Canadian fans did, is not like the escalation of a sporting rivalry. This is not like K-State fans booing the KU fight song. It is, for Canadians, an expression of their own national pride and defiance of the idea that they would be better off being colonized by the United States. Joke or not, this is defiance of that idea. And that is political. And the president's subsequent involvement is, in response, also political. So there's no keeping politics out of sports with this one. There just isn't. That's usually the case in international sporting competition. Why do you think Russia is not one of the four nations in the Four Nations face-off in the first place? So I would bet the fans at TD Garden tonight will boo "Oh Canada," and some will not give it much more thought beyond, well, they booed our anthem. But for many people in that building, it will also be a political expression. Perhaps it's support for the president. Perhaps it's support for the idea of annexing Canada or invading Canada. But there will be people who boo, and then there will be a really good hockey game and a rush afterwards to make the result of the game mean something relative to this particular moment in world history. And how you feel about that is how you feel about it. But let's get one thing really clear before they drop the puck tonight in Boston. This isn't 1980. Game ain't no Miracle on Ice. Make that clear. Who wins tonight? Team Canada, Team USA. Who wins? So shaky goaltending.
That's what I gotta say.
Shaky goaltending on both sides, right? Like Jordan Binnington's a bum and a half. Just absolute trash for Canada. But
they should have picked Logan Thompson. But there's a whole drama with that as well.
They should have. That's your team pride, right there. Team USA, Connor Hellebuyck, really good, except when games matter.
Yeah.
Then he's a little shaky too. So I think there's going to be some soft goals both ways. But I trust Hellebuyck a little bit more than I trust Binnington. So I'll go USA 4-3 in overtime. Jack Eichel with the win.
Oh, you're going in overtime. I'm going 3-1.
Another one. Like the first one was 3-1, wasn't it?
I think it was 3-1.
Yeah, the
same
first
way.
Yeah, the prelim meeting was
same thing happens.
Well.
I think they set the tone early, if you know what I mean.
You should watch it. It's going to be good. It's going to be good sports tonight. However you feel about the politics around, it's going to be good sports. We'll take a timeout. We come back. We're going to build our Royals dream lineups coming up on 580 Sports Talk. 5:32 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer with you. All right, we've been teasing this all day. Farm to Fountains on their X and Blue Sky accounts posted a menu of Royal greats at all 9 positions plus designated hitter. Assign them dollar values from $5 down to $1 and says you have $24 to build your Royals dream team. If you are watching right now on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, or on Facebook at WIBW News, going to put the graphic on the screen now. Here is what we are choosing from. They're going to hate me for this, but I got to get the station logo out of the way there. All right, there it is. There's what we got for our Royals dream team, our all-time lineup. Again, thanks to the folks at Farm to Fountains. Follow them on X at Farm to Fountains. Follow them on Blue Sky at Farm to Fountains. They put this together. They did the hard work. We are just... we think it's a cool idea, so we're going to play along. $24 to build your all-time Royals lineup. $24 9 ways doesn't go real far. So
no, it doesn't. But where did they get the 24?
I don't know. That was an editorial decision from the Farm to Fountains folks. Anyway, so let's play along, shall we? All right. We'll go position by position with our choices here. At catcher, I took the $4 choice here. I took Darryl Porter. Darryl Porter is one of the most underrated players of the 70s and 80s. A catcher who was good behind the plate, but also an excellent hitter. Had his best year with the Royals in 1979, where he hit 20 home runs, had 10 triples, and 23 doubles. Led the American League with 121 walks. Drove in 112, hit .291 with a .421 on-base percentage. Had a .905 OPS. That card in Stratomatic rocks. I have used 1979 Darryl Porter and Stratomatic so much. I love Darryl Porter. Anyway, I had to go with Darryl Porter there for $4 because I'm using my $5 players elsewhere. The $5 option is Salvador Perez, $3 option Mike McFarland, $2 option John Buck, $1 option Miguel Olivo. Man, John Wathan can't get any love. Anyway, who are you going with behind the plate?
I want to preface this. My team, I built them around 3 $5 picks.
Oh, you went 3 $5 picks.
Yes.
So you're going bottom of the barrel at a lot of positions here.
So then, yes, some were bottom of the barrel. They're still kind of household names, though.
Sure.
Like there's a couple lower dollar ones that were household names. So I did 3 $5, and my first one, Salvador Perez.
Salvador Perez behind the plate. Can't go wrong with Salvi. First base, $5 options, Mike Sweeney. $4, John Mayberry. $3, Eric Hosmer. Steve Alboni's the $2 pick. And for $1, my first baseman, Vinny Pasquantino. Who doesn't love the Pasquatch?
I debated that pick. That was one of my debate picks, but I switched up one Eric Hosmer for $3.
You went Hosmer for $3 there. You know, Hosmer was darn good in his good years. Kind of alternated good years with like middling years at the plate, but he won 4 Gold Gloves, a Silver Slugger, obviously part of 2 pennant winners and a world champion. Vinny Pasquantino doesn't have that going for him yet, but for $1, yeah, I'll take the Pasquatch. He'd be a good clubhouse guy if nothing else. At second base, your top dollar option is Whit Merrifield at $5, $4 for Frank White. Now I got to have a word with the Farm to Fountains folks. You can't put Whit Merrifield ahead of Frank White on a list of Royals second baseman. Come on now. $3 for old Cookie Rojas, $2 for Mike Aviles, $1 for Michael Massey. Again, I'm built around 2 $5 guys, and I had to do some $1 guys, and I have to go with another one here. I go with Michael Massey at second base.
That's exactly where I went. Michael Massey, he's
feels like a position you can save some money at.
Yeah, and he's not horrible.
No, certainly not. Has had a couple of
plus side,
couple of double-digit home run seasons, and still he could play out of position too if you need him to. At third base, come on. The $5 option is George Brett. Does it even matter who the other options are?
Exactly. That's where I went.
Yeah, you have to have George Brett on your team. You can't not have a Royals dream lineup and not have George Brett on your team. I gave some thought to the Joker, Joe Randa, at number 2. Hey, you know why they called him the Joker?
No.
It looked like he was always like smiling. His lips were always curled in like a permanent smile. It was kind of eerie in some ways. But yeah, I thought about the Joker, Joe Randa, but nah, you got to go George Brett for $5. At shortstop, Bobby Witt Jr. is the $5 pick. And come on, you can't not go with Bobby Witt Jr. here.
Exactly. You've now seen my $5 picks.
You've got to build around the left side of the infield with this Royals all-time lineup. So yeah, we both went Bobby Witt Jr. The other options from $4 down to $1. Freddie Patek, Alcides Escobar, Alberto Mondesi, and Angel Baroa, 2003 Rookie of the Year. In left field, $5 pick is Alex Gordon, then Johnny Damon, Bo Jackson, Raul Ibanez, and Lou Piniella. I'll give you the first pick here. Who'd you go with at left field?
Well, I backed myself into a corner when I did the infield, where the infield, including the catcher,
That was a lot of money.
it was $19.
Oh, yeah. You don't have much left.
So left field, I put Piniella.
Sweet Lou is also my pick as well here. That was like the first guy I went to as a $1 pick was, man, Lou Piniella was an all-star in 1972 with the Royals, led the American League with 33 doubles, hit 300 twice in his 5 full seasons in Kansas City. One of the original Royals, and of course the 1969 Rookie of the Year. Darn good player, Lou Piniella. We remember him, our generation, as a manager, but Sweet Lou could play, man. He was a really good player. He's both of our left fielders. In center field, Amos Otis is the top dollar option for $5. Then it's Willie Wilson for $4, Carlos Beltran for $3, Lorenzo Cain for $2, and David DeJesus for $1. I cannot tell you how happy I was to get my personal favorite Kansas City Royal of all time, Lorenzo Cain, for $2.
I did the same.
I love Lorenzo Cain. I keep meaning Lorenzo was on a podcast with was Hosmer and I think it was Moose. I think Hosmer and Moustakis.
Is it Hosmer's podcast?
Yeah, Hosmer does a podcast with Peter Moylan. And Peter Moylan and Mike Moustakis kind of look alike, like vaguely enough to where if I just glanced by it, I could have gotten them confused. But I do think it was Moose on there with Hosmer and Lorenzo Cain was the guest. And they were telling old stories. You remember? So you weren't around for 2015, so you don't remember a lot of the lore around that team, like Fetty Wap, 1738, the whole thing.
No,
but
I was
keeping the line moving.
My teams,
right. Your team had a good 2015 too, but there was also the thing where everybody in the locker room played Clash of Clans. Remember Clash of Clans?
Yes.
Like, so guys were really into Clash of Clans. Apparently, Lorenzo Cain is still really into Clash of Clans.
Interesting.
Like they asked him, like, when's the last time you bought a gem for the game? He says, man, this morning. Lorenzo's the best. Great defensive player, brilliant defensive center fielder, very good hitter, had doubles power to both gaps. Love Lorenzo Cain. He's my center fielder. Right field, Danny Tartable's the $5 pick. Then Al Cowens, Jermaine Dye, Frenchie, Jeff Francoeur, and Mitch Meyer as the number $1 pick. I went with Jermaine Dye here.
I had to go with Mitch Meyer.
Yeah, you were kind of priced out. Jermaine Dye is my pick. Spent 4.5 years with the Royals. Was an all-star in 2000 when he hit .321 with 33 bombs. Had 3 seasons of over 100 RBI. Also won the Gold Glove in 2000. And then was part of 2 of the worst trades ever on the same day when he was traded even up to the Rockies for Neifi Perez, who then turned around and gave him away to the A's for 3 guys who never amounted to anything. Sometimes I think about what Jermaine Dye would have looked like in purple pinstripes and how he might have hit at Coors Field, especially pre-Humidor Coors Field. And I cry a little bit. Anyway, we're down to DH. How many dollars you have left?
1.
You've got $1 left, and I have 2. So our picks are pretty obvious here. Hal McRae is the $5 pick. Then Billy Butler, Kendrys Morales, Jorge Soler, and Matt Stairs. You end up with Matt Stairs, not a bad consolation prize. And I get Jorge Soler, who shares the all-time single-season home run record in Royals history. That's not a bad bargain for $2 at DH. So my lineup looks like this. And I thought this through. I'm actually this is how they're going to bat in my lineup. I got Low Cain.
I didn't go that far.
I did. I got Low Cain leading off in center field. Bobby Witt Jr. is going to hit 2 at short. George Brett will hit 3rd and play 3rd. Then I've got Jermaine Dye hitting cleanup. Jorge Soler hitting 5th as my DH. I got Vinny batting 6th. Sweet Lou Piniella batting 7th. Michael Massey batting 8th. And then Darryl Porter, he's my on-base guy. He's going to bat 9th. He's going to get on base for the top of the order. He's my guy. He's going to draw walks. Doesn't really run great, but he's going to be my on-base guy. He's going to bat 9th. He's going to turn the lineup over for me. And that's my Royals lineup. If you have seen it on the YouTube and want to share and share your lineup of Royal greats, see Vance in. He's got McFarland, Haas, Willie Wilson, Whit Merrifield, or Bobby Witt Jr., George Brett, Willie Wilson, and Lou Piniella and Lorenzo Cain. it's hard when you've only got $24 to pick a team.
Yeah.
And Christopher's right also in the YouTube comments that Merrifield ahead of Frank White at second base is like, wow. Like, really? Like, really? That's tough. That's tough on old Frank White. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, I've been teasing it all show. Bird Lady. Get to know Bird Lady and why she's in trouble. Another super fan being super against the law, super breaking the law. I mean, that was terrible. Give me the break.
Men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices. Just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
WIBW, Topeka.
.546 on 580 Sports Talk. Round in the corner, heading for home on this Thursday edition. Don't forget the Jerome Tang Show tonight, 7 o'clock here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, your home for the Wildcats, 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We all know the sordid saga of Chiefsaholic, the Chiefs super fan who was knocking over banks in his spare time, now faces a lengthy federal prison sentence. But the Chiefs do not have a monopoly on super fans committing felonies, because ESPN reporter Michael Rothstein earlier today introduced us to the Bird Lady. Her real name is Carolyn Freeman, and she is a season ticket holder of the Atlanta Falcons. She is instantly identifiable. Her outlandish outfits, including her wings that she spreads in the stands, She is a local celebrity. There's a billboard with her on it at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Wow.
She's a big deal. People know the Bird Lady. People from outside of Atlanta know the Bird Lady. And they used to think Bird Lady was the person to call if you wanted to set up a killer tailgate. Well, as it turns out, she was defrauding people. At least that's the allegation from Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis, who has filed a single-count accusation of felony theft. The charges allege she collected more than $14,000 for services she failed to deliver, and they represent the first criminal case to emerge after several public complaints involving her over several years. A complaint filed with the IRS says her Bird Lady Cares, Inc. nonprofit was abused for fraudulent business purposes. And the most recent victims were Chiefs fans. Remember, the Chiefs went to Atlanta September 22nd, primetime game. That was Sunday Night Football. Sunday Night Football. And 2 months before the game, a couple of Chiefs fans contacted Freeman and asked for help organizing an event for hundreds of fellow fans. They want to have a big blowout tailgate in Atlanta for Chiefs fans. And Freeman, Bird Lady, said that she had these services that she could offer: a decorated event space, a tent, food and beverages, live entertainment, games, a projection screen, golf cart shuttle service, and a surprise celebrity guest performance. The two sides signed a contract. The Chiefs fans said they transferred $14,000 incrementally through various payment providers. When game day arrived and Chiefs fans began to gather at the venue, Bird Lady wasn't there. A couple of people were standing around. There also wasn't any of the stuff that was promised. It was described as basically a vacant lot surrounded by a neighborhood. When the 3 p.m. start time arrived with hundreds of fans gathered, there was no sign of the Bird Lady, no sign of her party supplies. One of the fans reached Freeman via phone, who responded with a litany of excuses for why she was running late, including a broken trailer, a hospital stay, and having been stopped by the police. Freeman never showed. The fans stayed until 6 o'clock in this vacant lot, just hanging out, waiting for a tailgate that never materialized. And then they were to find out that Bird Lady showed up at the stadium, just like always, to watch the game.
Wow.
Bird Lady told ESPN, quote, they took a warrant based on a lie, saying they had a contract. They didn't have a contract. No, they had a contract. This is where the narrator says there was, in fact, a contract. It's over the legal threshold from small claims to an alleged felony, and she ended up leaving Mercedes-Benz Stadium in handcuffs. This is not the first time that the Bird Lady has overpromised and underdelivered. There was a group of Seahawks fans that were looking to tailgate for the playoff game between the two teams all the way back in 2017, and Freeman offered an impressive package to the group known as the Georgia Seahawkers, but none of it was delivered. No food, no booze, no Bird Lady. People paid to be at the tailgate and just stand around and drink beer that they had to go buy and just stand around. People apparently, according to the head of the Georgia Seahawkers, quote, people still refer to it as the Trap House Tailgate. There are other allegations as well. And this person, this woman has been renowned as a Falcon super fan. She's got this inspiring story that she tells, this whole thing that she has fixture at Falcons games, and she's defrauding people. She's taking people's money, saying, oh yeah, I'll throw you a great tailgate. Just show up, just be there, and I'll take care of everything. And then no show. I'm just going to take your money. Enjoy a vacant lot. You enjoy cold chilling this vacant lot.
Jeez.
Vance says she did it to the Chiefs fans. Put her in jail for life. So I guess maybe there's some small consolation. Chiefs fans, it's going to be hard to be more embarrassing than Chiefsaholic. I'll say that. But at least you are not the only franchise now with a super fan who's in some big trouble. That is the story of the Bird Lady. I cannot recommend it more highly that you go read the story at ESPN.com today.
It's so funny.
It is wild. One more break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show with a final word. We are wrapping up and walking off this edition of 580 Sports Talk with the final word. Spencer Dupuis, lay it on us.
Yeah, we've been talking about it the last couple of days, and today it was first implemented in an MLB spring training game, but the balls and strikes review, replay, assist, I think that's going to be great for the game. I think that everybody wants to be right. People just want it correct. And there's so many times where you see replays of big crucial calls when it comes to a pitch that might be on the corner, but guess what? It's in the zone. Well, no, maybe it's not in the zone. Well, guess what? Now they can actually replay and see if it is. And I think this is going to change the game for the better. I think it'll make for I think fans will be less upset when it comes to the umpires and maybe take out an home plate umpire altogether eventually.
Yeah, I think it's a good change as well. My dad's already texted me complaining about it, but I think that there will be a generation of fans who's not super into it, but I think it'll be like the pitch clock. It'll be one of those things that, like, I was not a fan of the pitch clock, and now I barely even notice it's there, and the games are done faster. It worked, and I think this is going to work too, to whatever extent that you can call it a success. Final word for me today is this: I do think that the most likely path forward for the Chiefs at left tackle is finding a short-term solution, not just a one-year solution, but not a maybe half-decade to decade solution on the free agent market. I think that they are more apt to find an acceptable starting level left tackle in free agency than they are with the 31st pick in the draft. Of course, that could change if they trade up, but they don't have a ton of draft capital to do that with, so I'd be really surprised. There also doesn't seem to be a lot of really appealing left tackles on the trade block. There's not an Orlando Brown Jr. out there to be traded for instance. So I do think it's going to be a free agent swing, and I would suspect it would be a veteran, and then the Chiefs might just be crossing their fingers and hoping that somebody moving into their 30s will be able to be durable and play frequently and play at a high level in front of Patrick Mahomes. That's going to do it for us today on 580 Sports Talk. Jerome Tang Show at 7 o'clock tonight. We're back tomorrow from 3 until high school basketball at 5:30. For Brendan and Spencer, I'm Dan. Good night.